I mean, it's tough as a long target because it's going to go long to here and then just dump. It's tough as a long target. I would more like to see unpolarized moments up top to take a long, like instead of trying to long this and possibly getting liquidated down. I'd like to see the top become unpolarized first. Complete its cycle where it's, yeah, unpolar. Like after, like there's no levels left. Like it becomes unpolarized. I want to see this tested, right? Like I want to see, it's not unpolarized because it hasn't been tested yet. It's just an untested level. Once it gets hit, it becomes creating polarized levels. Like once that gets hit, you'll have your final polarized level here. This makes this unpolarized, and touching this makes this unpolarized. Because like I want to see one of these two sides get unpolarized, so it gives me a final moment. Right now, there's still two untested levels, so you can kind of almost go both directions here, and you can hit each one. So like the trick here is you're going to test up here, and you're going to make your final level, like right here. And if that ladders, right, that's gone. And you're going to make your next little your next moment of polarity right here, right? So this one will be gone. And then once you break that level, that's where I want to see you long. Or once you break this level, that's where I want to see you long. Or once you break this level, if it just goes here and just starts to move over top of it, that's where I want to see a long. You can try to long here, just get out if it starts falling down, because you're not longing here to be up in this region because it's just not there yet. But you can, but just be mindful that you're also doing the same thing on the bottom side here. So you're looking for both of those moments on both sides here. You're looking for the moment where this one gets tested and then creates this. So once you lose this, the move's gone, right? Or you're going to hold this and you're going to create that next same moment. Like you're just creating that same circle. You're just doing this. You're just moving it to here, right? So then once you lose this, you take a short, right? Or maybe, here as it moves up, because this one gets tested, and then up and up and up and up and up until you're in that moment like, oh, there's nothing left below. This is short. We're losing this level. Take that short because it's about to go straight down. Same with this thing up top, right? Like you're going to do the same thing. You're going to touch this and then it's going to create one final moment. And if that holds, it'll create the next final moment, which is the only final moment. And then if that holds, it's tested. It's going to create the next final moment. So you're looking for that moment of polarity where there's nothing left, right? Because this is kind of creating its own little range here, just like this is creating its own little range here. There's nothing left to protect the move up. And then you're going to be, you're going to be up here and still laddering down. And then you're going to be all the way up here, able to take a short that goes down 2 to 3%, right? Or here on this side, up 2%. So you should be able to make 2% either way here. We just have to see how the polarity unfolds. You can enter here, right? And as you keep creating these moments, these final levels, right? There's going to be a level, right? That's like this one is tested, this one is tested. This is untested so far. So this is untested. So there's nothing left below because this is tested, this is tested, this is tested, blah, 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 blah. So this is your moments of clarity. So the second that you lose this level, right? The second there's nothing left to hold you up. In 1 minute candle, you could be sitting here with 1% and be like, wow, it's going so good. But then all of a sudden you're going to lose this small little level right here. You're going to probably get liquidated within 1 minute to 2 minutes. So you can long here for sure. And you're playing the right part of the move. It's just, that's an experience thing, right? Like, would I long there? Yes. Would I tell you guys to long there? As long as you're watching it, I guess you guys are prepared for this. Yeah. Because you could be up 1% and then all of a sudden get liquidated. Yeah. So if we were to trail through this right now, like, look, this one, this is part of this. This is part of the range. So you have to be in here, which is tested. And this one is tested. And this one is tested. This one is not tested. So when you lose this, you're going to go to here, right? If this tests, then you're going to be here, right? And if that tests, then you're going to be somewhere up here. So, once this is tested and you're up in this region right here and you're starting to ladder against this move, you're sitting here, you go down like this, and then you just straight down because these are all tested. So you can indeed enter here, just like you can indeed enter here. But understand you're entering at the point that's going to you're going to move right through it. So it's either going to be the best entry that you can possibly take, or you're going to get liquidated the second you lose the level. The same thing's going to happen on the bottom side. Like you're going to short here, right? And it's going to be all the way down here, and it's going to be like this. And there's going to be no untested levels here all the way because it came up and already did all that work, right? It already did all that stupid work. And now it's down here, and there's a tested level there, and then you're right here. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's just going to rip right up because there's nothing left. So you can enter short here, and you'd be up 1%, but all of a sudden, it's gone. because all the work has already been done. So yeah, you guys can enter on those two spots. You just have to be very careful. I mean, the best move here is to buy the best level, is to catch the knife, and you can see where you can catch the knife on either side. That's the best thing here, but it's also the hardest thing to do. That's why I have these trends here to kind of help guide me, like, oh, are we losing this bottom trend and possibly testing down, or are we developing an accumulation cycle right now? Like, we just hit the number one, maybe now we're going to just the number two is the trigger point for the shorts up here. So this is where the shorts are. The number two is a trigger point, which is going to create our number three. So it's going to go like this, and it's going to create our number three right here, which should also be your best short entry. But then that gives you this trend here, which is your trigger point to get out of this trade, because this is already creating the number three, which is the trigger point for the best short. Like, this is the number one on the opposite side. So then you're going to come down here like this, and once you break that, you've got to get out of the trade just based on a trigger point. But you might have already come all the way down here before doing that. So your target was hit. You didn't take that because you're trigger pointing out, which is just the trigger point for your number one on this side. And if you're unpolarized and there's nothing left, then you're gone. So, in one scenario, you're creating a three on one side. In the other scenario, you're creating the same number three creates a number one. So like I said, you come here, you can enter short, but just be aware that you're possibly in an accumulation cycle like this, and there's no tested levels. And then all of a sudden you're just gone, and gone. Because you just created an accumulation cycle on the other side. Just the same thing you're doing here, right? So yeah, enter there, but also have your propositions to exit based on criteria. Like, oh, okay, we went here, we entered. That creates a trend like this. I got to exit this trade, even if it goes down here and you're back up here. Okay, my trigger point was hit. Like, don't be stubborn. Like, get out. You missed your target. There's nothing left. So yeah, you enter these greedy spots, but also realize, like, don't enter them and hold them if they're moving up in price or down in price, because that's suicide, because there's nothing left there to hold you anyways. So you've got 2% on either way, and we can use our trends to guide us here, because the trend is the cycle that's being created. Like, you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's how I'd be looking at this trade. We can make 2% either way. We just have to do it smart, right? Like, we just have to do it in a smart manner. Just like this would have been a good entry. But again, we have to do it in a smart manner. We said, we break this. This is our trigger point for this trade. This short here, this is our trigger point. Just like when we come up to here, we're going to go like this, and, come here. We're just going to adjust the trend like this. And then that's our trigger point for this short, right? If target's not hit, that's the trigger point where you say, okay, I'm in this, I got to get out. You're just going to go like this. And that's your exit. That's get the hell out, because it's losing its move, right? Like, what does this look like? Oh, we just hit a hold level and we lost trend. Yep, you're gone. You're gone, right? Like that's how I would treat this trade. Like, if I was in short right now, the second I cross this trend, I'd be out if we didn't hit our target below. I would just use that as a trigger point. Also, there's no untested levels here. Like, there's nothing. They didn't create any little dips or any little things like that. So I would get out of this trade, and then I would reshort here and do the same thing and create my trend off of that hold, and then say, okay, this is the trigger point for this hold level. Yeah. I mean, as long as you're not like this, look, as long as it's not like this, okay, comes up to here, right? We adjust this trend to here, right? Like this. As long as there's no other like little hold levels there, like if it creates a hold level here and you're like this, and there's like a little hold level right here, right? Like something like this, and you go here, you can still hit this hold level. This is the final moment. So you can exit it if it goes over this. You don't have to exit if it goes over your trigger, right? You don't have to do that, because it could just be larger time frame, not hard closing and moving down still. But that's going to be a decision where you can only see that in the moment, where you say, oh, we have a trigger point, but we have one last level. So we can wait to see if that last level is respected. We're still exiting in profits, right? But if there's no last level, if this doesn't exist, then yeah, your trigger point is it. There's nothing left. See what I mean? Either going to be your trigger point is your protection, or your protection is an untested hold level. So you either, like I said, you're here, you have this here, you have a nice clean level like that. But you have two pieces of protection. You have trend. If you lose trend, you can go this. This is it. That's your max. Or if you go straight up here and then fall and there's nothing left untested, this then isn't, and your trend is your max. That's your trigger point. Err with caution there. Like, you have to realize there's nothing left. A 1 minute hard close could do it. A 1 minute hard close could do it. I think at that point you have to cycle through your time frames and say, okay, are we closing a 15? Are we closing a 5? Is this a 3 closing? Like, you guys saw how I did that on the 97.20 trade. And it was to the minute, because it was like, oh, there's confluence on multiple time frames here. We're about to close the hourly in 15 more minutes. This next 1 minute candle closes that 15-minute candle, which means the 15-minute candle is now hard closed, which is going to set up the hourly for the 4-hour push. So there was like a confluence of time frames there where the next minute made up the 15-minute candle at 10:45, which is the first hourly candle, which was closing over the trend as the first 15-minute candle for the first hourly setup on the next, which is the same thing as a 5-minute closing at 15 to the hourly would be the same thing as a 1-hour closing to the 4-hour. So it was setting up a confluence of time frames, right? Like it was setting up, oh, this 3-minute is closing the 5-minute, and that 5-minute will be the 15-minute on the hour. So it's closing like 4 time frames in this next 3 minutes, essentially. Not at 10:57, but say at like 10:42, because it's opening the 15-minute, which will close the hourly. So there was a confluence there. Not at like 10:06, but then there's a different type of confluence because at 10:06, it's the opening of the previous candle. So then you have to work back and say, is this opening anything significant, right?
Yeah.
But if it's like 10:36, that's pretty random. Or like 10:31, that's pretty random. Or like 9:35, like that's pretty random. That's different than like 10:42, because a 3-minute candle after 10:42 closes at 5, opens the first 15 on the hourly, which is the setup of the 4. You see what I mean? A very different confluence. If I was in this trade at this point, I would go like this. Okay, that hard close to here. And I would see, this is the definition that I would use at that point. I would say, okay, this is going to continue to hold through this trend. We should stay in our short. If this goes anything above this, I would just get out. But now you're in that rock and a hard place where it's like, oh, we should take the greediest level, right? Well, we didn't, and now we're kind of in this stupid spot where we hard close one time frame. We're about to lose this. It's continuing to hold, so it looks good because on a bigger time frame, it's just holding its hold level through this trend, distribution to distribution. Now we've got a million trends here, so it's holding its time frame on a bigger trend. So it's technically still holding, so it's good, but it's also a rock and a hard place. So this is where you have to use trends to guide you. This is where you have to use trends to say, okay, what am I doing on this thing, right? Because in one side, you hard close broke this trend. On this side, you're about to lose this first trend here. So rock and a hard place, right? Like you have to justify it on a larger time frame then and say, okay, well, here's my trend distribution. I probably don't have a 15-minute, no. So then I need to go here and say, okay, 15-minute trend. Let's find the next 5-minute point right here. Okay, if I can't break this, I'm out. If I can't break this trend, I'm out. And then you also have the smaller 3-minute, which is this guy here to this guy here. So now it's like a battle of trends. You're continuing to hold the move and you're starting to lose the momentum, right? Like you're continuing to hold this hold level and your trends are starting to break. So this is how I would treat this trade. I would use my trends to guide me. And now I would adjust also, like, oh, this level continued to hold. Is there an actual point where we can, no, where's the 15? The 15 is still there. Oh, you see the 15 actually hasn't developed fully yet. What about the hourly? So actually we have the hourly that we can pin this to. I hope it grabs the right one. It does. So then we can go back to the 1 minute on the hourly pinned. That's where it's broken, and we can start to massage this down now. That doesn't close. We can go to the 5-minute. The 5-minute closes. So this is where I would get out of the trade, unless there's a 3 minutes. There's not. So if it hard closes this, I would get out of this trade. Maybe there's a 1 minute that you can say, yeah, if it hard closes this, I would get out. We're hard closing that. So then you can do a bit of like trend magic there to say, okay, like your level is holding. Are you hard closing the trend? So if this hit here and started to hard close this trend, you've done a bit of trend magic. You can get out. Even at this point, I think you can justifiably move it to here now. Because if we just did that same work, we would end up with the same result on a different time frame. We would just go to the 3-minute and it would be different than massaging it to the 1 minute. So you'd be here and then you hard close that 3-minute there, right? So would this be a 5-minute hard close? No. So this would actually be an even more relevant time frame. Was it a 1 minute? Oh, it was a 1 minute. Okay, so now you could be like this. So if you hard close this trend now, right? Like now you're working on the more exterior pieces of the trend. Also, do a really interior trend like this as well, which gives you this, like that. Right? You could also do like a super interior trend here and say like, okay, which trends are you losing and which holds are you holding? And you're also laddering off of this, which doesn't really bode that well with me. I'm not really concerned about that. What I'm more concerned about is getting over top of this trend here. If we get over top of this and start hard closing it, and like if we start hard closing in this little triangle here, I would then be like, okay, this is probably something that's a little too risky, regardless if it goes up or down. This hold level's been hit multiple times and is like, what does this look like? You flip it over. Oh, you're losing polarity. Doesn't that just look like you're about to lose polarity to your next level? Right. So kind of like you can only give it so much before it breaks. Like we're giving it a lot here. We can only give it so much before it breaks, if that makes sense. So you really have to look at this and be like, yeah, okay, so what trends up here need to break? Like, because now you're holding this hold level, like what has to hold, how does this have to continue holding? Like what is it breaking? And you have like a bunch of these micro trends, and the more it holds, I suppose the better it's getting. Yeah, and it shouldn't be existing down in these regions here. Like it shouldn't be existing down in these regions here. Like what I marked, it shouldn't exist in those regions. If it is living in these, it's likely it's losing trends. If it's existing in these, and we'll make these ones red, maybe that'll help clear it up too. If it's existing in these pieces, it's breaking its trends up, right? So you have to be kind of mindful of that. Like if it's existing in those pieces, but I mean, if it's existing up in this big one, it's already obvious. If it's existing in those red ones, obviously it's losing price. If it's existing in these green ones, it's breaking this side, right? So you have to be mindful of that. And now you're here in the trade, right? Like, so you can see where where your final moments are. Like you can see that where those final moments are going to be, like which trends you're losing and which area it's living in is where it's going up or down here to the final like its other hold level on the other side.
Yeah.
So you can draw all these interior trends and they work and they're good and they help you decide, oh, this move is going up or down, but now we've kind of have some pretty bad chart noise, but that's okay. We understand what it means, right? Like we understand which piece of the move this is living in. So hopefully we start to live in here, and that brings us to this one or this one, and then down to this bigger one, and then once that breaches, it's down here, and it's on its way to this level. Yeah, this is where the move starts. Actually, both trends are accurate here, but this one was already broken, so I didn't draw it. Like this was already broken there, and then it had already moved to here, which was already broken, and now it's here, which isn't really controlling the move anymore. Like it's here on the 5 minute or the 15, I believe it was. There's actually no trend there. So then I have kind of this trend here, which is also the trend that's going to break below this hold level. So that's like pretty key to understand here. Like this is the final hold. Once you're below this trend, you're not going to do this. What you won't do is this break down onto this side of it, fine, to hit the hold level. What you aren't going to do is have a trend that's holding you up below this level. That's not going to happen. Once you lose this level, no, it doesn't matter what trends you have in here, it's gone. It moves polarized from the level. So you see what I mean? Like it won't matter if I have a bigger trend out there. What matters in that scenario is that the final hold level, like this trend here, like this trend here, we lose this trend. That's one shield. This is the second shield. Once the second shield is gone, I don't care what trends you have. It's going to polarize down to the next range, right? So it's why I don't have the bigger trend here and why I have more of an inside trend. But you can see like all these interior trends, like what's going to break on this side is like these boxes, like these kind of we have all these interior trends, and it's going to exist in one of them out here somewhere, like the close, like almost like these two are connected like this, and then these two are connected like this, and then these back two are connected like this. Like it's going to fall on one of two sides of these trends, kind of thing. Like you can notice like right now it's between this one and this one. Before it would have been here to here, down here. Like it's existing on a bigger range up there. Down here, it's going to be down here. So it's almost like the range is dwindling in its own master trends up there, like the master trends. You see what I mean? Like right now it's between this box and this box. Over here, it was between this box and this box. Here, it's between this box and this box. But notice those circles are almost like a master trend, right? So there's like a different region it lives in where you can see like, again, to go back to your trade, your original question, like what the hell do you do here? This is what I do. I'm using trends, like very, very interior trends to decide which side of this is going to, live in between. Like right now, there's a 1 minute hard close forming, so I'd be, cautious. Also could ladder off this though too, and just straight distribute.
See what I mean? Still wait 30 seconds because.
No, like that's the problem with this.
Yeah, that's what you said. But yeah, about
like look at the hard close it's forming. Like it's already too late. Like you can wait. It's not confirmed hard close yet. But that's the problem with being in this trade is like, you're using this information and you see what happens when it starts to get into this green sector here is it's just going to break over top of its move. So hasn't hard closed, not yet. There's the hard close. But then how long do you wait? Because now you're saying, oh, can it ladder off this? It's still technically holding if it goes down here. So like this is this is the problem when you're not taking greedy levels. Is like, you may miss some in between, but you don't put yourself in these predicaments where it's like, oh, yes, it could ladder off this. But then if it's not laddering off of that, it's breaking straight up to this level. So now you're sitting there saying, oh, well, I can hold this. I'm still not liquidated, right? This just, and I would even wonder now if we're testing a higher time frame here. There's nothing on the 5, which means 3 is the max. So did we just test the 3-minute greedy? No, we didn't. Which is the break level there. So you'd be more like the really there, whatever candle that's close to. So you could even say like, it's holding this right here. But again, then you're just back to the conversation we had before. Like, where are you really buying? If this is where it could go, like, why are you buying in here? It's kind of the same thing we looked at with the selling the weekly and the daily and looking at that 15-minute on MEX, where I said I would just miss this trade because, like, really, why? When it can go so much lower than that 81.50 level, like, why there? When there's just such clear targets, like, and that's where 92.05 makes so much sense because there is no guessing at 92.05. You're in the trade and you're profits, or you're out without any harm. There is no guessing between. There is no, oh, there's one more level protecting me. Oh, there's just this one thing. There's none of that crap. It's just become such a simple, clean, easy way to do things.